Welcome to this Moving Panels One Shot. Let's have a nerdy little conversation. And for this little conversation, I have the dapper Southern gent with me, Mr. Blake Fowler. How are you, Blake?
I'm doing well, Laramy. I'm ready for you to talk nerdy to me, actually.
That made me a little uncomfortable.
All right. Well, every good conversation starts with a little discomfort.
There we go. Uh-huh.
Okay.
What is it? Every 7 minutes, there's an awkward silence?
Every 8th minute, I'm there to fill it.
Okay. So we're just going to have a conversation about superhero animated TV shows. Why they're so good. Are there any bad ones? And, what we just like about them. I think that's what we're going to talk about. So, because I know both of us are huge fans of the Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
Goes into Superman the Animated Series, which even me as a Superman fan, it wasn't as good as Batman.
I'm very proud of you for being able to admit that, Larry. It's a big step.
I'll admit truth.
Okay.
And then the amazing Justice League Animated Series into Justice League Unlimited. So we're big fans of that. But what other animated cartoons are just your go-to superhero cartoons?
So growing up, the Spider-Man, the animated series, is a big deal. The '90s Spider-Man.
Which one? Because there were like 30.
I know. Okay, so this is the radioactive spider plasma in the theme song Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I grew up with, and aside from Batman the Animated Series, that was the one superhero cartoon like I just could not miss. Sure, yeah. I love Ninja Turtles. Like that was awesome. I did love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I enjoyed. Is Scooby-Doo considered a superhero? Like he solves mysteries of Batman. Either way, I couldn't miss Scooby-Doo either. But as far as superhero ones go, Spider-Man was right up there. I don't know. Is The Tick also? Did you watch The Tick? Like, was The Tick?
Love The Tick.
The Tick
love
was
The Tick.
On Fox Kids. Was one you had to watch.
Fox Kids was the place.
Dude.
The Tick, that Spider-Man that you're talking about, Batman, all were on Fox Kids.
Yeah, how did they all coexist in one place? Now you can't get Spider-Man to play along with anybody without like signing a blood oath. But
again, it's all those licensing agreements.
Yeah, everybody at that point in time, you had one central hub. And for us, it was right after school. Like you tried to get home as fast as you could so you could watch that Fox Kids block in the afternoon.
Let me ask you just quick little trivia. Do you remember what channel Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aired on?
Oh, for me, are you talking about number channel or the network? Which one?
The network.
The network.
The network.
No, I have no idea. I could not tell you.
It'll probably shock you.
It will. It
was CBS.
Was that like after Hawaii Five-0? They had Ninja Turtles?
No, it was a Saturday morning cartoon. It was back when we had Saturday morning cartoons.
Was that the same as like Care Bears coming on? Was that the CBS also? Okay.
I don't know if Care Bears was CBS.
I can't remember. Yeah, like that was around the same time as all that. But
all those. Garfield and Friends, Pee-wee's Playhouse.
So we're talking about, were there any bad superheroes? So we've talked about a couple of good ones here, and I mean there are a ton.
There's several. There's tons.
X-Men.
So let's focus on some bad ones.
Yeah. Before I say mine, do you have one that you just abhor and loathe?
Not that's coming to my. Now I have discovered some that I just never watched, and then went, that probably wouldn't have interested me. There was one that was called Avengers United We Stand.
I do remember that. It was bad.
Yeah, I never watched it, so I can't say whether it was bad or good. But of the ones I remember watching, I can't think of one. You might mention one that I go, oh yeah. Because I do tend to forget things that weren't good, because I like to, always remember the good things in my life.
Sure. That's completely
So what do you have?
Understandable.
What's some bad ones you remember?
I don't know if this is bad, and this is probably going to make some people very confused. I was never a huge fan of Batman Beyond. Like,
Really?
I just never, like, the whole Neo Gotham thing just never really meshed with me. I watch it because it's part of that Batman the Animated Series Extended Universe, and to a certain degree, I kind of feel the same way about Batman the New Adventures. Like, it really just, they did the whole character redesign for Mr. Freeze and Bane and everybody, and it didn't mesh with me, man. I did not like it. Don't feel good about it. I feel a little icky after watching it sometimes. Because I feel like it's a stain on that original Batman the Animated Series.
See, I liked Batman Beyond. Now the new adventures of Batman, or the Batman,
whatever
it's called.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched it.
It's just...
in fact, I didn't realize until recently, for people who are following my TikTok, and I've been posting a lot of openings to animated superhero shows. I didn't realize that Batman the Animated Series changed its name for the last couple of seasons,
right,
to the New Adventures of Batman and Robin.
And I'm not
it's
sure,
the same show.
Did you find any reason out behind that? I haven't had a chance to get on TikTok to see if you have mentioned that, but
I don't think I said it in the video because I'm just throwing little trivia up on the screen. But I think if I remember right, all it was they just wanted to appeal. Well, they wanted it to look like it was a new show, even though it was just a continuation.
Right.
But it was also because the higher ups, the people who always seem to know better, air quotes there for people who don't see, were saying, no, it's not just Batman. It's Batman and Robin. Everybody knows it's Batman and Robin. You don't just do Batman, you always do Batman and Robin. So it was Batman and Robin.
I'm going to go with no, not a good enough reason to change the name of a show, but keep it essentially the same, other than character redesigns. Because
Batman and Robin has worked so well in the movies.
That is a different episode. Please go back and listen to... That's a whole other deal right there, Laramy.
Yeah, we still haven't covered Batman and Robin on this show, but
we've gotten close enough that I don't know if we need to fly that close to the sun ever again.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever see another Robin in the movies?
Okay, so we're gonna lean a little into current events right now. I don't know if you've heard all of the talk about the Batman and the sequel that has been announced. But I keep reading that there is going to be at least some kind of nod or mention to Robin leading to one eventually, which I'm not sure how they're going to do because Robert Pattinson is already a young Batman. I don't know if he's going to take on a liege that early on in his career.
I don't know. We'll wait and see. But let's get back on track.
Sorry.
With animated stuff.
We veered just a little bit there. But yeah, the point being, there aren't a whole lot of bad superhero cartoons.
Yeah, so that leads me to the question. What is it about animated comic book stuff that's always so good?
I think a couple of things that go into why it's so good. One is nostalgia. Like, it takes you back to, quote unquote, a simpler time. Like, you get to disconnect from your current place in the world, and you get to be a kid again. We talk about waking up early on Saturday morning or trying to rush home in the afternoon. Like, those are great memories. And so we look at them with rose-colored glasses a lot of times.
But we're not just talking about looking back at these. Like, these were good when they aired.
I absolutely agree. 100% agree. And they hold up. And again, part of it is nostalgia, and the other part of it is how much went into the storytelling at that time. How important the storytelling was to these writers and the producers, and they created something from the heart, I guess, for lack of a better term, to get a little cheesy, and made something that stands the test of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it also helps that you are, like you're saying with the writing, you are able to flesh things out a little bit more with animated stuff. You're able to do things in animation that you probably couldn't do in live action.
Right. Yeah, look at the Batman the Animated Series, to go back to it. You've got a whole run on Mr. Freeze and Clayface. That's tough to do live action, and it's tough to flesh out over 1 or 2 movies. It's easier to do over 50 episodes or however many you've got in an animated cartoon run.
Yeah, but then still, when you're talking about story, they can do it successfully in the animated stuff. Why can't they do it in the live action? Because we've had live action. We've had, I mean, well, you're a Batman person, so
Yeah.
Gotham.
Yeah.
You had Gotham, and you had a lot of these characters, get, several stories aimed at them.
Well, for me, Gotham, with the distinct and very real fear of having Will Smith yell at me after saying this, Jada Pinkett Smith ruined Gotham for me. That character was terrible. And then you turn Barbara Gordon into the villain.
Will Smith's wife's name
out of my mouth.
Out your mouth.
It wasn't good. And that's to go back to the storytelling. Someone just thought, we're just going to do a bunch of crazy twists and throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, and whatever sticks is what we're going to go with. And none of it stuck, for me, personally.
Yeah, and I could see that, too. I mean, I know that show like Lois and Clark kind of force a lot of the characters onto us from, the comics. But yeah, there's just something about animated stuff that, yeah, I mean, we talk about it in terms of the nostalgia now, but there's still great ones. I mean, although we're not the demographic for this, I've sat down and watched some of the DC Superhero Girl stuff.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's not, comic book accurate. It's not, anything like that, but it's good.
Well, you're talking about stuff that's geared at us. What about Harley Quinn on HBO Max?
Oh, yeah.
They're still pumping out
even more adult stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, really good shows. But again, it goes to what kind of care and attention is given to these shows.
That's very true.
If you've got people who are passionate and who care enough about it, then yeah, it's going to be a good product. If you've got,
and that holds true to the stuff we grew up with, the stuff I talked about at the beginning. I mean, you had Bruce Timm, who was the Kevin Feige of DC animated stuff back in the day.
Yep.
You had Andrea Romano, who was doing all the voice casting and voice directing,
which we've talked about her role in all of this and how influential and important she was. I don't think you'd be here talking about these shows right now, especially the DC universe specifically, without her and her casting choices.
Yeah.
But again, because they cared, Laramy. Like this was important to them.
But like you're saying, even Marvel did a great job with anime. There has never, I think up until probably just recently, because I can't think of one that currently airs, but there was never not a Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been so many iterations of a Spider-Man cartoon, and for the most part, they've all been pretty good, if not great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the worst one was the one that was like CGI.
Yeah.
That one's popped into my head now.
I can't recall what the title of that was.
I think it was just called Spider-Man. I don't think there was
It wasn't super.
Yeah, that one wasn't great. I do remember that.
Yeah, they've got so many, and I know Disney Plus right now has the Spider-Man that I'm talking about that I grew up on, and I've been going back through those along with the X-Men episodes, and it's
that was the one. Yeah, that was the one that was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kind of techno sounding.
Has
I remember
the whole Madam Web storyline that goes on through it, and it's so good, and I think you wonder, why can't live action movies get to the point of animation? But it's because I think you get a little more creativity with animation. You get to flesh out, again, your ideas a little more. You get to go bounce some things you wouldn't normally do in live action and let your imagination play.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the Madam Web and then say you get to do stuff that you wouldn't do in live action.
And they are doing a Madam Web, which
they're making Madam Web.
I will hold my discussion on how the live action one is after we see it. I do have some reservations about how they're going to pull that off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just because also, and we won't get into talking about this movie either, but it was that animated series that you're talking about, the Spider-Man from the Night, that introduced me to Morbius.
Yeah. I think that's, for our generation, I would say that was probably the introduction for most of us.
Yeah, it wasn't the comic, it was the cartoon.
To Morbius, yeah. And he was awesome in the cartoon, dude. Like, that's why he became one of my favorite anti-heroes. Him, Venom, these guys that the cartoon series brought into your household.
Yeah. There's just, and then I know we were talking about shows, but it then goes into, they started doing the animated movies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Mask of the Phantasm? Get out of here.
But yeah, I mean, then the actual intent. Well, yeah, Mask of the Phantasm was but the ones that went into the run where they were all connected, the DC ones that were all connected.
Oh yeah.
Getting into those. Now I will say, when you start getting into those, they're hit and miss.
I would say they're probably more hit than miss, though.
Yeah. Well, the first DC, the Superman Doomsday, the first one, because then they did the Death of Superman. But the Superman Doomsday, the one where Adam Baldwin voices Superman, that was not good.
Okay. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've ever seen that whole one.
That was not good. But yeah, most of the rest of those are. Then you had Marvel take their shot at it, and they were hit and miss as well.
Right.
Ultimate Avengers was great.
Really good. Yep.
Yeah, Ultimate Avengers 2 was great. Not as good as Ultimate Avengers, but it's still great. But I even love that the animation even goes to the silly side. We've got Lego Batman.
Yeah.
We've got, going back to television, there was the Superhero Squad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was hilarious. And it was entertaining. It was fun to watch.
Completely forgotten about that.
And so you've got all of this. There's just something about, and it might also be that with animation, it's like we are seeing the comic book
be brought to life. The moving panels are on the screen, Laramy.
Yeah.
They really are. And especially you look at movies like Lego Batman, which, despite being a quote-unquote kids movie, is universally loved. Adults, critics alike talk about how great the Lego Batman movie is. And for some people, it's the Batman movie. Like Will Arnett's voice is now Batman to a generation because of how good that animated film is. And it just... it speaks to the work of the people who are behind it, I think.
So, what do you think should be let's say, the future of animated TV shows? Because I can't think of one that we currently have. Is there?
I know there's a Ninja Turtle series out that's like a 3D CGI kind of series. Obviously, we've talked about the Harley Quinn adult cartoon show on HBO Max.
Well, so let's go with that. Let's go with HBO Max.
Okay.
Let's go with the fact that they're Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So they have the connection to DC. Should DC? I don't want to get into make this a bigger conversation, which is why I'm having trouble talking about it. So where CW had the Arrowverse, which is fading away. But they had the Arrowverse where all of their shows were interconnected. Could HBO Max do that with launching off of Harley Quinn?
I don't know if they can do it launching off of Harley Quinn for the sole reason of, if you're going to do a DC animated universe, obviously you have to have Batman. If you're going to have a Batman cartoon, you have to pull as many of the original from the Batman the animated series as you can. Going to create a dark tone. I don't think that's going to play well in the Harley Quinn animated universe. I would like to see them go back to more 2D animation and try to connect those shows. Yes.
So with that being said, you just reminded me of something else we can talk about. Disney Plus is bringing back the X-Men. Like the X-Men anime series, X-Men 97.
Which is going to be a great move for them, dude.
And it's supposed to be a continuation of the 90s show. So do you think DC... I always hate to say that DC should copy Marvel. But should DC... Are you saying DC should do the same thing and bring Batman back?
I certainly don't see the harm in following Marvel's blueprint. Marvel, I think, knows what they're doing business-wise, and I'm sure they're bringing it back for the fans. But business savvy-wise, bringing back the X-Men series, which is arguably their most popular animated series, is a smart move both for fans and for the business side. And I think DC would be wise to do the same, to bring back in some form or fashion Batman the Animated Series. I think it'd be a win-win for everybody.
All right, well, let's get into, because again, as we're talking, my brain's running on other things. What about the content of these shows? Because we're talking about Harley Quinn and the more adult content. And then you've got, we didn't even bring this one up earlier, you got Invincible.
Yeah.
On Prime.
Okay, yep.
And the very
that is
graphic.
Super graphic, yeah.
And adult content. I know that there is an animated The Boys that's out now too, but I haven't seen that one yet. So should the content meet the age of people like us who grew up with it, or do we go back to family-friendly, kid-friendly shows, which I would assume that's what they're going to do with X-Men 97, that it's still going to be, the kind of preteen, older kid, 8 to 12 range.
What if I said that there's enough for everyone? For example, keeping...
Well, of course there is, but what do you focus on?
Keeping in DC, you create a Batman, the animated series that is more adult. You launch it on HBO Max, but then you keep kids. Teen Titans is what you put on public television, so to speak. So you still have something geared towards kids, but you also are playing to your adult crowd, which we were the kids growing up with these shows.
Yeah, well, no, we didn't grow up with Teen Titans Go.
Right, okay, yeah, that's fair.
Which I do want to say that. Why haven't I mentioned Teen Titans Go as being a bad one?
Yeah.
Although I am not a fan of Teen Titans Go, it's good writing.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it does do what it's intended to do. Yeah. It just doesn't make us who grew up with Teen Titans very happy.
Yeah.
That they decided to take the show in that direction.
Turn it into a full-blown comedy. Teen Titans Go to the Movies was great. It was actually really good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They took a show and turned it super kid-friendly, which again is fine because you want to bring up the next generation knowing these characters and falling in love with these characters and becoming lifelong fans.
All right, well, I think we've exhausted what we can talk about for that. I wish, I really want some streaming service, or, whether it's Disney Plus, whether it's, Hulu, whether it's something, to give me like a Saturday morning playlist.
Yeah, like a lineup, man. You remember the Saturday morning lineup.
Yeah. So I could just wake up in the morning on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. I could just go in there and go, what's playing now?
Yeah.
And, I can watch some of these old ones, watch some of the new ones, whatever. I miss Saturday morning cartoons.
Sure, you can go in and just have your pick of the litter, so to speak, with whatever cartoon you want. But I do miss the days where I got an episode of a different show back to back to back.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Right.
That's what I want.
That would be really cool. If anybody listening knows how to create that in some form or fashion, please let us know desperately.
Yeah, that's my thing. You've got, we're now getting onto a completely different topic, but you've got things like with music services like Spotify, you can create a playlist. So why hasn't any of the video streaming allowed you to do the same thing? Like, let me watch an episode of this, followed by an episode of this, followed by an episode of this.
I think you might want to verbal copyright this idea real quick before anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and close this one up.
Waxing poetically over there about a streaming service for cartoon shows. Okay, someone get on it.
It doesn't even have to be cartoon shows. I mean, again, we're going off of this, but TGIF,
Step by Step, Boy Meets World.
Yeah, Family Matters, Full House.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and then now I don't know if you're too young for this. Snick.
Yeah, man, I know Snick.
Yeah,
Snick and I are real tight.
I bet you don't remember Roundhouse.
No, I don't remember that. No.
That was one of the original Snick shows.
Yeah, no.
And I seem to be one of the only people who remember it.
Well, don't tell everyone you're the only one that remembers it.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
It was an awesome show, and I wish you could find it somewhere. I've found clips on YouTube, but
yeah, we're getting into a
wish you
completely
could find
different
the actual
topic because
show.
you're about to get me started on Pete and Pete. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Salute Your Shorts. Like, this is going to be a whole different topic. So.
Oh yeah. Salute Your Shorts was never a part of Snick, though.
No, I was just talking about shows.
Shows
Double Dare, all those shows that were on during that time.
Hey Dude.
Yep.
So,
All that.
all right.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and close this one up. Thank you, Blake, for joining me on that little discussion. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Hey, we might come back and talk about some of this other stuff later.
Yeah.
But we're going to wrap this one up. Go watch some of those classic cartoons. Super Friends is still fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Even though it's corny and cheesy. Give that one a watch.
Sometimes you need that, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Blake, and thanks for everybody for listening. Give us those reviews and 5 stars on Apple Podcast. And for today, for Moving Panels, I'm Laramy Wells, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
Do you love movies of a certain age? Do you miss the days of VHS tapes and VCRs and video rental stores? Is the thought of another 80s movie being remade seem inconceivable? If you want to go back to school, back to the future, or even back to the beach, then the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast is for you. I'm Tim Williams, the creator and host, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest co-host as we revisit a different 80s flick to discuss our first-time watch memories, iconic scenes, and even learn some behind-the-scenes stories along the way. New episodes drop every other Friday on your favorite podcasting platform. So make like a tree, get out of here, and go listen to an episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast.
What seems to be the problem, pal?
There's just so much pain in the world, so many issues. I don't think I can bear it.
Well, friendo, it sounds like you could use a dose of pop culture roulette.
Pop culture roulette? What's that? Some sort of pop culture themed podcast or something?
That's right, sonny boy. When hope seems far, dive into some PCR.
But I already get my entertainment news from Variety.
Huh, that's pretty good. If you're a chucklehead, PCR gives you news you need, condensed, unfiltered, and raw, from 3 nerds who know a little something about something.
Wow, okay, sign me up.
That's the spirit. Pop Culture Roulette. New episodes every Monday, available on all major podcast directories.